Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about medical astrology and the planet Venus. Now, I'm going to talk about how Venus and astrology can be tied into certain debilitations and health-related issues and body parts it can be connected with. Now, first of all, as far as the body parts go, well, Venus corresponds, as far as astrology goes, with the throat, the neck, thyroid, kidneys, lower back, uh, the eardrums, the voice box, the tongue, and the lips. Now, if Venus is afflicted natally in one's natal chart, the person may have a greater propensity toward debilitations and illnesses that would be associated with the planet. In the things that what I had just described, issues associated with what I described, like with the kidneys, for example, like the kidney disorder. I have Venus squaring my Saturn in my chart, and Venus also makes a long square to my natal Neptune. Venus is also my chart ruler of my first house of my Taurus ascendant. And I've had I had a kidney issue one time. They found a very prodigious kidney stone in me, and I had to have it pulverized and removed. I also have Libra on the cusp of my sixth house in my natal chart, and I have Jupiter in Libra in my sixth house in conjunct my ascendant. And Jupiter, as many of you may know, I mean, it's very paradoxical, very strongly benign and benevolent, but it could also have that proclivity to enlarge and expand. In that case, as perhaps it manifested in enlarging and expanding kidney-related issues with me. I've also had issues with the lower back as well, and Venus can be associated with that. So, something what I want to say as far as an example, I gave you an example like with me, with my Venus being afflicted, and it's also another thing I mentioned. It's also the ruler of my sixth house of health, so that kind of, it's like adding insult to abject misery, basically. So it's no surprise that I've had problems with the kidneys, and kidneys, of course, Venus ruled. Now, talk about another situation involving one's Venus and how it may have impacted somebody's health. TV, you might have heard about this TV news reporter, Victoria Price. She's a news reporter based in Florida. She has natally her Venus in Virgo, makes an inconjunct to her Saturn in Aquarius. Now, when you're talking about inconjuncts in astrology, they could often be about health-related issues and adjustments. Now, in July of 2020, she had found out, based on what a television viewer saw of her on TV, found out that she had thyroid cancer. The viewer apparently had noticed some kind of lump or protrusion in her neck area. And Venus, of course, is associated with the thyroid. She has, again, going back to the fact she has Venus in Virgo in conjunct Saturn in Aquarius in her natal chart. Venus can be associated with the thyroid, and it's in conjunct her Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn can sometimes be about one's career, and she is in Aquarius, could be associated with television. She does have that career that is associated with television. You have an in conjunct with that, there can be an adjustment that may have to be made, and you're talking about something health related. And she had to take some time off, I believe, due to having the surgical procedure to remove something in her neck that was associated with the thyroid cancer. Now, also in astrology, transits that involve Venus may play a role in health-related issues associated with that planet. Now, in April of 2006, I had a transit Venus. It was around April 7, 2006 to around April 11, 2006. I had the transit Venus in Pisces was conjunct my natal North Node. And when we're talking about when the North Node is involved in transit in astrology, it could often be about issues one may have to address or confront. Venus, and the fact this was Venus, I had, again, going back to my kidney situation, around that time I had a kidney issue where I was going to have a kidney stone pulverized at that time. And it's interesting. This was an issue that I did have to address and confront. Venus can be associated again with kidneys. And interesting, the fact that it's in Pisces. Pisces can be about dissipation, dissolving energy. Ideally, again, a Pisces word. Ideally, I wanted to dissolve. I was attempting to dissolve kidneys, likely around. I mean, kidney stones at this time. So there you go. And Pisces could be associated with dissolving, and you're looking at Pisces connected with water. So it's interesting. It's kind of like astrology, maybe having a little bit of a sense of humor, maybe a warped sense of humor in this case. But again, I mean, when somebody has a transit like that involving Venus in the North Node, it can manifest in issues one may have to confront or address that could be Venus related, and it wouldn't exclude, in my case, a kidney issue. Some other person might have something, going with the tongue or the lips or the lower back, something that could be another thing that could be Venus related. Now, also, the thing about this too is keep in mind that progressions in one's chart that involve Venus can also play factor into one's health situation. Let's say, for example, somebody has Venus in their progress chart. They have Venus in the sixth house in conjunct their ascendant. Now, this could be a very strong indicator for something Venus related as far as something health related goes, because you're talking about, in that example, Venus would be in the sixth house of health, and it would be making an inconjunct aspect to the ascendant. The ascendant, of course, is the physical body, and inconjuncts again could often be about health related issues, debilitations. And the thing about this is, it could be somebody that has any Venus-related issue, of course, as I described before, something with the voice box or the tongue or thyroid, throat, neck, lower back, kidneys. But the sign can play a role as well. Remember that Venus can also be about money. So if you have something, Venus as, let's say, as another example, let's say if you have Venus in, let's say, in your progress chart, Venus is in Leo in the sixth house, making it in conjunct aspect to your ascendant. That could manifest perhaps in spending money on something Leo that could be health related, such as maybe getting maybe a stroke that you had you had to deal with and you were hospitalized for, or some issue with the upper back, or some other heart related issues. So those are some examples. Now, keep in mind too that synastry that would involve Venus, and that could actually play a role too, surprisingly, as something that could be health related. Where, let's say, for example, that in a synastry aspect, you have the south node conjunct Venus in a synastry aspect. Now, as many of you may know, the South Node, when you have the South Node conjunct someone's astrological point, it could be about pulling away. Sometimes it could be about drainage, about draining that other person, the other person that has that other astrological point, whether it could be the ascendant or midheaven, or it's or an astrological planet. Now, Venus may not be connected with vitality or energy, but remember that Venus is about self-worth and self-esteem. If somebody has the South Node conjunct Venus in a synastry aspect, I should say two people have the South Node conjunct Venus in synastry, the South Node person may, even if it's not maliciously, may unwittingly or inadvertently drain that person's self-worth or self-esteem. And when you have a situation like that, remember that in some cases, the limitations in someone's self-worth, self-esteem, how they feel about themselves, can sometimes manifest in health issues, such as like having weaknesses in the muscles. Say if this is an Aries, especially as an example, Aries could be associated with the muscles, and if you have that synastry aspect, that could be an example of that weakening of that energy. Sometimes when people become despondent, it also can lead to something mental, like some kind of despondency or depression, when you're pulling somebody's self-esteem away from them. Say if this is in Virgo as an example, that could be very judgmental, critical energy involved with the connection. The Venus person may be dealing with a lot of derogatory statements, a lot of criticism from the South Node person, which could result in that lack of self-worth and self-esteem, and may play some role later on in some spur on some health-related issues. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.